What if buying dinners for two strangers could make you a millionaire overnight? This is Malik Carter, 17 years old, washing dishes for $8 an hour. Tonight, he's about to make a choice that changes everything. The elderly white couple at table 6, digging through empty pockets, looking desperate. They're worth more money than most people see in 10 lifetimes, and they're here on purpose. As Malik approaches with his own dinner, the meal he saved 3 days to afford, he has no idea he's walking into a test. The old man's piercing blue eyes aren't just grateful, they're calculating. The woman's leather portfolio contains documents that will soon have Malik's name on them. But here's what makes this story incredible. Malik doesn't know any of this. He just sees two people who need help, and that's exactly what they're counting on. One act of kindness, two millionaires in disguise, a reward beyond imagination. But let me take you back to where this all began. Because to understand why what happens next is so extraordinary, you need to see what Malik's life was really like. 5:30 a.m. Every morning, the alarm clock beside Malik's bed doesn't even work anymore. His body just knows when to wake up. He rolls out of the narrow twin bed he slept in since he was 8 years old. The same bed his mother bought him before the accident. The floorboards creak as he tiptoes past his grandmother's room. Grandma Lila is already awake. She always is at this hour, but she pretends to sleep because she knows Malik worries about her. Through the thin wall, he can hear the wheeze of her breathing, the way she struggles even while lying down. Their house on Elm Street tells its own story. The yellow paint has faded to the color of old newspapers. The porch steps sag in the middle from decades of weight. Windows are held shut with duct tape because new ones cost money they don't have. But Grandma Lila keeps it clean, spotless even, because being poor doesn't mean being proud, she always tells him. Malik pulls on the same jeans he wore yesterday, checks the pocket for his bus fare, $3.47, enough to get to work, not enough to get back. He'll have to walk the 3 miles home tonight. But that's okay. He's walked farther for less. The walk to Benny's Diner takes him through neighborhoods that tell different stories. Past the nice houses with manicured lawns and cars in driveways. Past the apartment complex where his friend Jamal lives. Where the parking lot is full of potholes and broken dreams. Past the abandoned shopping mall where older kids hang out, smoking and planning futures that probably won't happen. Benny's Diner sits at the corner of 5th and Main, a beacon of fluorescent light in the pre-dawn darkness. Big Ray is already there, prepping for the morning rush. He nods at Malik. Not unfriendly, just busy. They don't talk much. But there's respect there. Ray knows Malik shows up every day, works harder than employees twice his age, and never complains. In the kitchen, Malik's hands move through familiar motions. Stack of plates, hot, soapy water, scrub, rinse, dry, repeat. His hands are rough now, calloused from months of this routine. Sometimes he looks at them and wonders if college hands look different. Softer, maybe. Hands that hold textbooks instead of dish towels. The dishwashing station faces a small window that looks out onto the parking lot. While he works, Malik watches people come and go. Families heading to school and work. Construction crews grabbing coffee before job sites. Business people in suits talking on phones. All of them moving through lives he can only imagine. At 7:15, his shift ends. Time for the real challenge. School. Lincoln High School squats like a tired brick building on the east side of town. The building needs paint. The computers are ancient and half the lockers don't work. But inside these walls, Malik transforms. Here, he's not the kid who washes dishes. He's the kid with straight A's who tutors other students during lunch. Ms. Alvarez, his English teacher, notices him first. Malik, you have a gift with words, she tells him one afternoon. Have you thought about college? College. The word feels foreign in his mouth. Kids like him don't go to college. Kids like him get jobs right out of high school if they're lucky. But Ms. Alvarez sees something different. She starts bringing him applications, scholarship information, pamphlets with pictures of campus quads and library towers. "I can't afford it," Malik tells her quietly. "Maybe not today," she says. But dreams have a way of finding funding when the dreamer is worthy. At lunch, while other kids buy hot meals from the cafeteria, Malik eats peanut butter sandwiches and reads college brochures, state university, community colleges, business programs. The numbers are staggering. Even with financial aid, it would take everything Grandma Lila has and more. After school, the cycle continues. More dishwashing at Benny's. The evening crowd is different families celebrating little victories. Couples on dates, elderly people making their meals last as long as possible to fight off loneliness. Malik watches them all. He notices things. The way the woman at table 3 carefully counts her change. The way the businessman at the counter leaves extra large tips on nights when the wait staff looks tired. The way kindness moves through the diner in small gestures and quiet moments. At home, Grandma Lila waits in her recliner, oxygen tank humming softly beside her. She's 73, but looks older. Diabetes, arthritis, high blood pressure. Her body is failing her, but her spirit stays strong. "How was your day, baby?" She asks the same question every evening. "Good, Grandma. Yours?" "Better now that you're home." They don't talk about the pills she can barely afford. They don't talk about the doctor, visits she's been skipping. They don't talk about the college applications hidden in his backpack. Some conversations are too heavy for evening light. Instead, they watch the news together. Stories about other people's successes, other people's tragedies, other people's lives that seem to happen in a different universe from theirs. But tonight is different. Tonight, Malik will make a choice that changes everything. He just doesn't know it yet. What he also doesn't know is that for the past 3 days, someone has been watching him, asking questions about the young man who helps elderly neighbors with groceries, who tutors kids for free at the library, who gives up his bus fare to make sure Grandma Lila has lunch money. Someone who's about to put that character to the ultimate test. November rain in this part of town doesn't just fall. It attacks. Tonight, it hammers against Benny's diner windows like bullets, turning the parking lot into a battlefield of puddles and rushing water. Malik scrapes his last table of the evening shift, his stomach hollow with anticipation. For 3 days, he's been saving every penny for this moment. No snacks after school, no soda with lunch, walking instead of taking the bus both ways. All for the simple pleasure of buying his own meal. Sitting down like a customer instead of working behind the scenes. The burger and fries waiting at the pickup counter represent more than food. They represent choice. For once, Malik gets to decide what he eats instead of settling for whatever's cheapest. But as he reaches for his tray, something makes him stop. Table 6. The corner booth is usually reserved for couples on dates or families celebrating birthdays. Tonight, it holds 2 figures who look completely out of place. An elderly white couple, both soaked to the bone. The woman's silver hair drips steadily onto her designer coat. Even waterlogged, Malik can tell the coat cost more than he makes in a month. Her husband sits ramrod straight despite his age, but his expensive suit clings to him like wet newspaper. They ordered coffee. Nothing else. Just coffee. And they've been nursing those same 2 cups for over an hour. Malik watches from behind the counter as the woman opens her purse for the 4th time. Her movements grow more frantic with each search. She dumps the contents onto the table tissues, reading glasses, breath mints, but no wallet, no money clip, nothing. She whispers something urgent to her husband. He pats down his coat pockets, then his pants pockets, then back to his coat. The shake of his head tells the story before he even speaks. "I don't understand," the woman says loud enough for Malik to hear. "I had it when we left the house." "I'm sure I had it." Her husband checks his pockets again, more desperately this time. He pulls out an antique gold pocket watch, examines it as if money might magically appear behind its face. Nothing. Tina, the evening waitress, approaches their table with obvious reluctance. She's worked here long enough to recognize the signs. Nice people, bad situation. The kind of problem that breaks your heart, but doesn't pay the bills. Folks, I hate to bother you, but she holds the check between two fingers like it might bite her. The woman's face crumbles. We're so embarrassed. We seem to have misplaced our wallet. I don't know how. This has never happened before. Through fragments of their conversation, Malik pieces together their story. Their Mercedes broke down on the interstate 2 miles from the nearest exit. They walked through the storm to find help, hoping to call their son from the diner's payphone. But the payphone is broken, held together with electrical tape and good intentions. The man's voice carries decades of authority, even in defeat. Perhaps we could leave something as collateral. I have my watch and my wife has some important papers. I'm sorry, Tina interrupts gently, but Ray has a strict policy. No exceptions. Big Ray himself appears from the kitchen, arms crossed over his chest. He's not cruel, just practical. The diner operates on razor-thin margins. Free meals, even for desperate elderly couples, can't happen. Not if he wants to keep the doors open. Look, folks, Ray says, his voice softer than his expression. I wish I could help, but we understand, the man says quickly, rising from the booth. Come, Elaine, we'll figure something out. Elaine clutches a worn leather portfolio against her chest like a shield. For just a moment, as she stands, Malik catches sight of what's inside. Official-looking documents, certificates of some kind, and something with an embossed gold logo that seems familiar, though he can't place where he's seen it before. The couple moves toward the door, their dignity intact, but their pride clearly wounded. Outside, the storm rages with renewed fury. Lightning illuminates the empty parking lot, where their broken-down luxury car waits like a stranded island. They can't go back out in that, Tina murmurs, watching through the window. Not at their age, not in this weather. But Ray has already turned away back to his kitchen, back to the business of staying afloat. Malik looks at his untouched meal on the counter. The burger is still warm. Fries are still crispy. The reward for 3 days of sacrifice, sitting there while two people who clearly lived very different lives face a humiliation. The elderly couple reaches the door. The man's hand is on the handle when Elaine stops looking back at the warm diner they're about to leave for the cold, wet night. That's when Malik makes his choice. But what he doesn't know, what he can't possibly know, is that this moment has been 3 days in the making. That the broken-down Mercedes in the parking lot has been strategically positioned. That the lost wallet is safely tucked in Elaine's coat pocket. That Arthur's antique watch has a hidden compartment containing more cash than Malik makes in a year. He's about to walk into the most important test of his life, disguised as a simple act of kindness. Malik doesn't think. He just moves. His meal sits on the counter, still warm, still waiting, still representing 3 days of careful sacrifice. But watching Elaine's shoulders slump as she faces the storm-lashed parking lot, something inside him simply decides. Tina, he calls out, crossing the diner in quick strides. Hold up. The elderly couple turns. Elaine's eyes are rimmed red. Whether from embarrassment or the cold rain, Malik can't tell. Arthur's pale blue eyes fix on him with startling intensity, as if he's seeing Malik for the first time. Folks, Malik says, approaching their table with his untouched tray. This one's on me tonight. Silence. Elaine blinks rapidly. Oh, sweetheart, that's very kind, but we couldn't possibly. Please. Malik sets the burger and fries in front of them, then slides into the booth without invitation. My grandmother always says kindness is the only thing that multiplies, when you give it away. Arthur's gaze never wavers from Malik's face. Something flickers behind those pale eyes. Calculation, recognition, but his voice remains steady, dignified. Son, this is your meal. You worked for this and I can work for another one. Malik flags Tina down. Can you bring them some fresh coffee and maybe see if Big Ray will let you use the kitchen phone to call about their car? Tina nods, understanding immediately. Hank's garage is still open. He does emergency towing. As Tina bustles away, Malik turns back to the couple. I'm Malik, by the way. Malik Carter Arthur, the man says, extending a hand that feels surprisingly strong for his age. And this is my wife, Elaine. Elaine's hands shake as she reaches for a French fry, and Malik pretends not to notice. We haven't eaten since breakfast, she admits quietly. Our car broke down on Route 47, and we walked here in the rain. We thought we had our wallet, but she trails off embarrassed. Cars break down, Malik says simply. Happens to everyone. Arthur studies him with those penetrating blue eyes. You work here after school and weekends saving for college. What do you want to study? Business administration, maybe something that could help my community. Malik shrugs, suddenly self-conscious. Sounds silly, probably. Not silly at all. Arthur's voice carries an authority that seems at odds with his current situation. Tell me about your community. It's an odd question from a stranded traveler, but Malik finds himself answering anyway. Lincoln High needs better computers. The neighborhood could use a medical clinic. People have to travel across town for basic care. And there's this old shopping mall that's been abandoned for years. Prime real estate just sitting empty. Elaine and Arthur exchange a glance. She clutches her leather portfolio tighter against her chest. And again, Malik catches a glimpse of that embossed gold logo. Something about it tugs at his memory, but he can't place it. Tina returns with the coffee and news. Hank's on his way. I should be here in 20 minutes. Thank you, Arthur says, then turns back to Malik. What's your last name again? Carter. Malik Carter? Arthur pulls out an expensive business card holder. Real leather gold corners, then pauses. Instead of selecting one of the elegant cards inside, he reaches for a plain napkin and writes carefully on it. Malik Carter. Arthur repeats, as if testing how the name sounds. And your address? The question seems oddly formal, but Malik gives it anyway. 1427 Elm Street. Elaine whispers something urgent to her husband, gesturing toward her portfolio. Arthur nods and turns back to Malik. Son, Arthur says, his tone shifting to something that sounds almost ceremonial. What you did tonight, giving up your meal for complete strangers, tells me everything I need to know about your character. It's just food, Malik protests. You needed it more than I did. Just food. Arthur smiles. But there's something behind it that makes Malik feel like he's missing something important. Elaine, show him. Elaine hesitates, then opens her portfolio slightly. Inside, Malik glimpses official documents, certificates with fancy seals, and what looks like architectural blueprints. Everything bears that same gold logo he can't quite identify. We're not just stranded travelers, Elaine says carefully. We're here for business, very important business. Before Malik can ask what kind of business requires architectural blueprints, Hank's tow truck rumbles into the parking lot, its headlights cutting through the rain. Arthur stands, straightening to his full height. In the harsh fluorescent light of the diner, his bearing transforms. Gone is the helpless elderly man. In his place stands someone who clearly expects to be obeyed, respected, listened to. Hank. Arthur calls out as the mechanic enters, shaking rain from his coat. Yes, sir. You the folks with the Mercedes? We are. Arthur's tone is crisp, businesslike. How quickly can you have it running? Hank scratches his head. Well, sir, it depends on what's wrong with it. Might need to tow it back to the shop, run some diagnostics. Money is not an issue, Arthur interrupts. Whatever it takes. Malik blinks. 30 minutes ago, this man couldn't afford a cup of coffee. Now he's telling a mechanic that money is no object. As they prepare to leave, Arthur pauses at the table where Malik still sits, trying to process what just happened. Son, Arthur says, placing a firm hand on Malik's shoulder. You've given us something far more valuable than a meal tonight, and I want you to know we don't forget kindness. He slips the napkin with Malik's information into his coat pocket like it's a precious document. Elaine steps forward, still clutching her portfolio. Malik, what you did tonight means more than you realize, more than you can possibly imagine. It was just, Malik begins. It was a character, Arthur interrupts, pure, unselfish character, the kind that's rarer than diamonds and more valuable than gold. As they head toward the door with Hank, Arthur turns back one final time. The storm has passed, and street lights illuminate his profile. For just a moment in that light, he looks familiar. Not like someone Malik has met, but like someone he's seen somewhere before, in a newspaper maybe, or on television. We'll be in touch, Arthur says. And something in his voice makes it sound less like a polite goodbye and more like a promise. The Mercedes starts on the first try. As the luxury car disappears into the night, Malik sits alone in the empty diner, staring at his reflection in the rain-streaked window. Something extraordinary just happened, but he can't quite put his finger on what. What he doesn't know is that Arthur is already on his phone making calls that will change everything. The first call is to his assistant. Cancel my morning meetings. I need background checks, academic records, and character references for a young man named Malik Carter. The second call is to his lawyer. Draft the paperwork we discussed. I think we found our candidate. The third call will happen at exactly 9:00 a.m. tomorrow morning to the principal of Lincoln High School. But for now, Malik just sits in the quiet diner, wondering why giving away his dinner feels like the beginning of something much bigger than hunger. The diner feels different after they leave. Quieter, like the air itself is holding its breath. Tina approaches Malik's table, shaking her head in amazement. Honey, I've been waitressing for 15 years, and I've never seen anything like that. Like what? Malik asks, still staring out the window where the Mercedes disappeared. You just gave your dinner to complete strangers, your own meal that you saved 3 days to buy. She slides into the booth across from him. Most people would have looked the other way. Most people aren't raised by Lila Carter. Tina laughs. That grandmother of yours sure did something right. She pauses, studying his face. But there was something strange about that couple, don't you think? Before Malik can answer, Big Ray emerges from the kitchen carrying a fresh plate. Burger, fries, and a slice of apple pie that definitely wasn't part of the original order. Kid, Ray says, setting the food in front of Malik. What you did tonight took real heart. Malik looks up surprised. In 6 months of working here, Big Ray has never offered him anything for free. The man runs his diner like a military operation. Every penny accounted for, every portion measured. Mr. Ray, I can't accept. You're not accepting charity. Ray's gruff voice softens, slightly. You're accepting respect. There's a difference, but the cost. The cost is mine to worry about. Ray pulls out the chair Tina vacated and sits down heavily. You know what I saw tonight? I saw a young man with more class than customers who drive cars worth more than my house. Malik takes a bite of the burger, his first real food in hours. They seemed nice. Just had some bad luck. Bad luck? Ray nods slowly. Funny thing about bad luck, though. Sometimes it reveals good character, and sometimes it reveals something else entirely. What do you mean? Ray stands, adjusting his apron. Nothing, kid. Just eat your dinner. You earned it twice over tonight. As Ray returns to the kitchen, Tina leans closer. He's right. You know, there was something off about those people. Off? How? Well, for starters, Hank said their car started right up once they got to it. No engine trouble at all. Just needed a jump, he said, like the battery had been disconnected on purpose. Malik frowns. That's weird. And another thing. Did you see how that old man pulled out his wallet when Hank asked for payment? A wallet thick enough to choke a horse. Funny how he couldn't find it when it came time to pay for coffee. The observation hits Malik like cold water. Arthur had claimed they lost their wallet, but he'd paid Hank without any trouble at all. How do you lose a wallet and find it again in 20 minutes? Maybe it was in the car, Malik suggests weakly. Maybe. Tina doesn't sound convinced. Or maybe there's more to this story than meets the eye. The walk home takes Malik through neighborhoods that tell the whole story of his town. Past the nice houses with their perfect lawns and security systems, past the apartment complexes where families like his make do with less. Past the empty lots and boarded-up buildings that speak to dreams deferred. At home, Grandma Lila waits in her recliner, oxygen tank humming softly beside her. The late news flickers on the television, but she's not really watching. Baby, you're later than usual. Is everything all right? Malik tells her about the elderly couple, expecting her usual pride in his kindness. Instead, she listens with growing intensity, asking detailed questions about their appearance, their clothes, their car. Silver hair, you said, and pale blue eyes. Yeah, Grandma. Why? Grandma Lila reaches for the television remote and turns up the volume. Sometimes angels come disguised as people in need, testing our hearts. They weren't angels, Grandma. Just people having a hard night. Mm-hmm. She pats his hand with fingers that feel paper thin. You keep that generous heart, Malik. It's going to take you places you can't even imagine. Places like what? Like wherever good people are supposed to end up. That night, lying in his narrow bed, Malik replays every moment of the encounter. Arthur's intense blue eyes, Elaine's mysterious portfolio, the way Arthur's entire bearing changed when Hank arrived, the business card holder he never used, the napkin with Malik's information treated like a valuable document. His phone buzzes, a text from Jamal. Heard you bought dinner for some random old folks at Benny's. Man, you're going to be broke forever helping everybody. Malik smiles in the darkness. Maybe Jamal's right. Maybe kindness is a luxury he can't afford. But tonight, seeing gratitude replace humiliation in two strangers' eyes felt worth more than any meal he'd ever eaten. What Malik doesn't know is that 3 blocks away in the penthouse suite of the Crescent View Hotel, Arthur and Elaine Kingsley are reviewing a thick folder with his name on the cover. Inside are his academic records, character references from teachers and neighbors, and a detailed report on his family situation compiled over the past 3 days. Perfect score, Elaine murmurs, scanning the documents. Better than perfect, Arthur replies, making notes in the margin. He didn't just pass the test. He exceeded every expectation. Tomorrow morning, they'll make the phone call that changes everything. The next morning brings questions that don't have answers. Malik arrives at Benny's to find Tina practically vibrating with excitement. That couple from last night. Hank told me something crazy. When he got to their car, there was already someone waiting. The driver in a black suit. What do you mean? Professional guy standing next to a second car. Hank heard the old man talking about foundation protocols and candidate assessment. What kind of stranded folks talk like that? The words hit Malik strangely. Foundation protocols, candidate assessment. During the first period, Ms. Alvarez pulls him aside. Malik, I received an interesting phone call this morning. Someone asking about your character, your grades, your plans for college. She studies his face. They knew an awful lot about you already. What do you mean? They knew your GPA, your job at Benny's, even that you walked Mrs. Green's groceries home every Tuesday. Her voice drops. They weren't asking if you were a good student. They were asking if you were a good person. At lunch, Jamal finds him in the library, phone in hand. Yo, Em, you need to see this. He slides his phone across the table. Look at this news article. The headline reads, Kingsley Foundation announces surprise local visit. Malik scans quickly. The Kingsley Foundation, worth $200 million, is conducting community assessments for a major new initiative. Their CEO personally visits potential sites, but Malik has stopped reading. His eyes lock on the foundation's logo, an elegant gold emblem, the same logo he glimpsed in Elaine's leather portfolio last night. Jamal, what does the CEO look like? Don't say. The article mentions he's intensely private and avoids publicity photos. Jamal looks curious. Why? Before Malik can answer, the intercom crackles throughout. Lincoln High. Malik Carter, please report to the principal's office immediately. In 6 years at Lincoln High, Malik has never been called to the principal's office. Not once. As he walks through hallways, students stare and whisper. Teachers pause to watch him pass. Through the glass windows of the main office, Malik sees Principal Harper talking to two figures seated across from his desk. An elderly white couple in expensive clothes, Arthur and Elaine. But they're not the desperate travelers from last night. Arthur's posture commands attention. Elaine's designer coat is immaculate, and spread across the principal's desk are official documents bearing the same gold logo Malik just saw in the newspaper. His legs feel unsteady as the secretary opens the door. Mr. Carter, they're waiting for you. The moment Malik steps into Principal Harper's office, the world tilts sideways. Arthur stands up. Not the frail, stranded, elderly man from Benny's diner, but someone who commands rooms with his presence. His expensive suit is immaculate. His pale blue eyes hold the sharp focus of a man accustomed to making million-dollar decisions. Hello again, son. Malik's mouth goes dry. You're Arthur Kingsley. I am. Arthur's smile is warm but calculating. And last night you bought dinner for one of the most powerful philanthropists in the state. The question is why? The room spins. Malik grips the back of a chair to steady himself. You needed help. It didn't matter who you were, exactly. Elaine speaks for the first time, her voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to boardrooms and million-dollar budgets. Arthur, show him. Principal Harper, who's been silent until now, slides a thick folder across his desk. Malik's school photo is paperclip-ipped to the cover, along with his full name in bold letters. Malik Carter, Candidate Assessment. We've been researching you for the past 72 hours, Arthur explains, opening the folder to reveal page after page of documentation, academic transcripts, work evaluations from Big Ray, character references from teachers, even photographs of Malik helping elderly neighbors with groceries. Malik stares at the papers, his mind struggling to process what he's seeing. You've been watching me. We've been evaluating you, Elaine corrects gently. The Kingsley Foundation is launching our most ambitious project ever, a comprehensive community development initiative. We need someone local, someone who understands real hardship but maintains hope, someone whose character we can trust. Absolutely, Arthur adds, turning pages in the folder. Straight A's despite working 20 hours a week. Teachers describe you as remarkably mature and genuinely compassionate. Your boss says you're the most reliable employee he's ever had. Mrs. Nolan says you shovel her walkway every winter and refuse payment. The librarian notes you tutor struggling students during your lunch breaks. Malik feels like he's watching this happen to someone else. I don't understand. You were testing me. Arthur closes the folder and looks directly into Malik's eyes. Last night wasn't an accident. We've been in town for 3 days asking questions, observing. Your name came up repeatedly as someone who embodies the values we're looking for. So, the broken-down car staged. Arthur's tone is matter of fact. We needed to create a situation where you could choose kindness or indifference, where the choice would cost you something you valued. The lost wallet. Elaine pats her coat pocket. Safe and sound the entire time. The betrayal hits him like a physical blow. You lied to me. We created a scenario. Arthur corrects. There's a difference. What we wanted to see was authentic. How you'd respond when you thought no one was watching, when there was nothing in it for you. Principal Harper leans forward. Malik, they're offering you opportunities that could change your life. What kind of opportunities? Malik asks, though part of him isn't sure he wants to hear the answer. Elaine opens her leather portfolio, the same one she clutched so protectively last night, revealing documents that make Malik's breath catch. University logos, legal letterhead, financial statements with numbers that have too many zeros. A full scholarship to any accredited university you choose. Arthur begins, his voice taking on the tone of a business presentation. Tuition, room, board, books, living expenses, 4 years completely covered. During summers and school breaks, you'll intern directly with our foundation, Elaine continues. Learning nonprofit management, community development, social enterprise, and after graduation, Arthur smiles. You'll return here as assistant director of our newest community development center. 2 years of training with our established team. Then, if both parties agree, you become director. Malik looks around the room, half expecting to wake up from an impossible dream. You want me to run a community center? We want you to help us build one first. Arthur spreads architectural blueprints across the principal's desk. Detailed plans for a gleaming facility that looks like something from a magazine. Elaine points to elegant lettering across the building's facade. The Malik Carter Community Development Center. You want to name it after me? Malik's voice comes out as a whisper. We want you to be its founding director, Arthur clarifies. This represents a $25 million investment in your community. But we don't just write checks and disappear. We partner with local leaders who share our vision. The numbers are impossible. $25 million. More money than everyone on Elm Street has seen combined. More money than Malik thought existed outside of movies and lottery commercials. Why me? He asks, though he's beginning to understand. Because transformation has to come from within, Elaine explains. We can build buildings, fund programs, and hire staff. But authentic change requires someone who genuinely loves their community despite its problems. Arthur nods. Someone who sees potential instead of just poverty. Someone who gives away their last meal to strangers because it's the right thing to do. Principal Harper speaks up. Malik, in 30 years of education, I've never seen an opportunity like this. But Malik is still processing the deception. The whole thing was fake. Your car, your situation, your desperation, all of it. The test was real, Arthur says firmly. Your response was real. Your character was real. Those are the only things that matter. We've funded hundreds of projects, Elaine adds. But we've never offered full partnership to someone your age. You'd be the youngest director in our foundation's history. Arthur pulls out his real business card, this time heavy cardstock with the gold logo embossed in the corner. Take 2 weeks to think about it. Visit our other community centers. Talk to people whose lives we've changed together. Make sure this aligns with your own vision. As he hands Malik the card, Arthur's expression softens. And son, regardless of what you decide about the center, your college tuition is covered. What you did last night, giving something precious to strangers, deserves recognition no matter what. Malik stares at the business card, at the blueprints, at the impossible opportunity spread across the principal's desk. "There's just one condition," Elaine says, her voice serious. "You can't do this for the money or recognition. You have to genuinely want to serve your community, because that's the only way it works." Outside the principal's office, students are changing classes, moving through their ordinary day, while Malik sits in a room where his entire future is being rewritten. But the biggest shock is still coming when he realizes this isn't just about him. It's about everyone he's ever tried to help. Everyone he's ever dreamed of lifting up. Everyone who's ever believed that kindness matters, even when no one is watching. This is about proving that sometimes, just sometimes, good people really do win. The blueprints spread across Principal Harper's desk look like something from a different world. A world where dreams have architectural plans and hope comes with construction timelines. Arthur traces his finger along the building's outline. The Malik Carter Community Development Center will sit on 15 acres where the old Riverside Mall currently stands. We've already secured the land. Malik blinks. The abandoned mall? But that's been empty for years. Prime real estate? Elaine confirms, opening another folder. Perfect location, excellent transportation access, and large enough for everything your community needs. The detailed plans are breathtaking. A state-of-the-art medical clinic with examination rooms and a pharmacy, computer labs equipped with the latest technology, job training facilities with equipment for everything from automotive repair to culinary arts, a library with study spaces and meeting rooms, even a commercial kitchen for community meals and catering training. This level represents healthcare services, Arthur explains, pointing to the first floor. Full medical and dental clinic staffed by professionals, but affordable for everyone. We're talking about routine care, chronic disease management, and preventive medicine. The second floor focuses on education and job training, Elaine continues. Computer literacy, GED preparation, vocational certification programs. We want to give people skills that lead to real employment. Malik studies the plans, his mind racing. You're talking about everything this community has needed for decades. Exactly. Arthur's eyes light up. But here's what makes this different from typical charity work. This isn't about us coming in and fixing things. This is about partnership. We provide resources. You provide local knowledge and leadership. Principal Harper leans forward. Malik, the economic impact alone would be transformational. Construction jobs, permanent employment, increased property values, new businesses attracted to the area. Elaine opens her leather portfolio again, revealing financial projections that make Malik's head spin. We're projecting initial construction costs of $15 million, plus a $10 million endowment for operations. But the real value comes from what happens next. What do you mean? What? Arthur slides another document across the desk. Conservative estimates suggest this center will serve over 3,000 people annually. Medical clinic visits, educational programs, job placements, community events. We're talking about touching virtually every family in this area. The numbers are staggering. But what hits Malik hardest is seeing his neighborhood's problems laid out in official documents with real solutions attached. Lincoln High's computer lab hasn't been updated in 8 years. Elaine reads from her notes. 41% of adults in this zip code lack basic digital literacy. The nearest medical clinic is 12 mi away, creating transportation barriers for elderly and low-income residents. We know, Arthur adds, because we spent 6 months studying this area before we ever set foot in Benny's diner. 63% of children live below the poverty line. But we also found something else. He turns to a page filled with interview transcripts. Malik recognizes names, neighbors, teachers, local business owners. Page after page of people mentioning his name. They talk about the young man who helps with groceries. Elaine reads. Who tutors kids at the library. who shows up at community meetings with ideas and optimism, who treats everyone with respect regardless of their circumstances. You're already a community leader, Arthur observes. We're just offering you tools to expand your impact. Malik looks at the salary figures and nearly falls from his chair. More money than Grandma Lila has seen in her lifetime. Enough to ensure her medical care, to renovate their house, to transform not just his life, but hers too. There's one critical condition, Elaine says, her voice becoming serious. You can't do this for the money or recognition. The moment this becomes about personal gain instead of community service, it stops working. How do you know I won't change? Malik asks. How do you know success won't corrupt me? Arthur smiles. Because yesterday you gave away your dinner to strangers. Not because you had to. Not because someone was watching. Because it was the right thing to do. Character that deep doesn't shift with circumstances. Elaine adds it only gets stronger with resources. Principal Harper speaks up. Malik, I've watched you for 4 years. You're the same kid whether you're washing dishes or tutoring in the library. Whether you have money in your pocket or you're walking home in the rain because you spent bus fare on someone else. Arthur pulls out a thick contract. Here's what we're proposing in specific terms. Full scholarship to any accredited university, your choice of school, your choice of major. During summer breaks, you'll work directly with our foundation team at existing centers in Chicago, Atlanta, and Denver. You'll learn grant writing, program development, community outreach, financial management. Elaine continues. Everything you need to run a major nonprofit operation. After graduation, you return here as assistant director, working alongside our established team for 2 years. Then, assuming mutual agreement, you become director with full operational authority. The contract includes specifics that make this feel suddenly impossibly real. Starting salary as assistant director, $65,000 annually. Director salary, $90,000 plus performance bonuses. Healthcare benefits, retirement planning, professional development budget. We're also proposing a community advisory board. Arthur adds, local residents who help guide programming and ensure we're meeting real needs. This isn't about imposing outside solutions. It's about amplifying local wisdom with adequate resources. Malik thinks about Grandma Lila's medical bills, about Lincoln High's outdated computers, about the boarded-up buildings on Elm Street that could house thriving businesses. What if I'm not ready? He asks quietly. What if I fail? Then you'll have failed while trying to help your community. Elaine responds. That's not failure. That's heroism. Arthur leans back in his chair. Son, we've funded hundreds of projects over 20 years. We know potential when we see it. You have something most people never develop the ability to see what could be instead of just what is. Plus, Elaine adds with a smile, you'll have the full backing of a $200 million foundation. You won't be doing this alone. Malik stares at the documents, the blueprints, the impossible opportunity laid out before him. Everything he's dreamed of for his community, rendered in precise architectural detail and backed by more resources than he ever imagined possible. Take your time, Arthur says gently. Visit our other centers. Talk to directors who started exactly where you are now. Make sure this feels right. But deep down, Malik already knows his answer. The question isn't whether he wants this opportunity. The question is whether he's brave enough to believe he deserves it. 18 months later, the transformation is nothing short of miraculous. Where the abandoned Riverside Mall once stood, the Malik Carter Community Development Center rises like a beacon of possibility. Glass walls reflect morning sunlight. Modern architecture blends with the neighborhood's character, and everywhere, people move with purpose. Malik, now 20 and a sophomore at Central State University studying nonprofit management, spends winter break overseeing the Cent's grand opening preparations. He's taller somehow, carries himself with quiet confidence. but his eyes still hold the same kindness that caught Arthur's attention. The medical clinic opened 6 months ago and immediately changed everything. Dr. Leah Park has already seen over 800 patients. Grandma Lila is among them. Her diabetes under control, her arthritis managed with physical therapy, her oxygen tank retired for good. "Baby," Grandma Lila says, sitting on their renovated porch. "You see that sign up there?" The massive banner reads, Malik Carter Community Development Center. Transforming lives together. Still feels like someone else's name, Malik admits. It's the name of the man you became when you chose kindness over convenience. Inside the center, the computer lab buzzes with activity. 30 adults learn skills that actually lead to employment. Mrs. Green discovers she has a gift for digital inventory management. Jamal's mother enrolls in graphic design courses and lands her first freelance client within 2 months. The job training programs exceed every projection. Automotive repair, culinary arts, healthcare administration, all leading to industry certifications that employers want. Lincoln High's test scores jumped 22% in the first year. Students now have quiet study spaces, modern computers, and tutoring programs staffed by college students who look like them. The Sense commercial kitchen became something unexpected. Big Ray expands his catering business, hiring 6 new employees from the job training program. Tina opens her own restaurant, a small cafe inside the center. Local news coverage brings state attention. Channel 7 features the Malik effect, documenting how one center sparked transformation throughout the neighborhood. Property values on Elm Street rise as abandoned houses get renovated by residents who learned construction skills. The governor visits for the ribbon cutting. The Kingsley Foundation model proves that sustainable change requires local leadership, supported by strategic investment. We're implementing similar partnerships in 5 additional communities. But the real stories happen quietly. Elderly residents get regular checkups. Teenagers choose study groups over street corners. Small businesses launch, creating jobs for neighbors who'd given up hope. Crime drops 18% in the first year, not because of increased security, but because people have better things to do. Arthur and Elaine attend every milestone, but they stand in the back, letting Malik and the community take center stage. In his ribbon-cutting speech, Malik thanks them, but focuses on neighbors who made the vision real. This center exists because Miss Alvarez believed in her students, because Big Ray showed kindness to a kid who washed dishes, because Grandma Lila taught me that generosity multiplies when you share it. The applause echoes off the glass walls, but Malik notices Arthur wiping his eyes. A reporter approaches Malik afterward. "What's next for the center?" "Sustainability," Malik answers. "We're not just providing services. We're teaching people to provide services for each other. In 5 years, this community won't need us anymore. They'll be helping other communities instead." That's an unusual goal for a nonprofit director. The goal was never to create dependency. It was to create capacity. There's a difference. 6 months after opening, that difference becomes clear. The Sense programs have generated 43 new jobs, launched 12 small businesses, and placed 67 people in full-time employment outside the community. But the most important number is one. One act of kindness that multiplied into thousands. What nobody could have predicted was what would happen next when Malik faced his first real test as a leader, proving that character under pressure looks exactly like character under poverty. 2 years later, Malik, now 22 and the Sense official director, sits in his office reviewing applications for the Foundation's newest scholarship program. Through his window, he watches children play in the Sense playground while their parents attend GED classes. His office walls tell the story of transformation. Framed photos of the Sense construction. The first graduating class of the culinary program. Grandma Lila cutting the ribbon at the medical clinic's expansion. Arthur and Elaine at last month's community appreciation dinner. A soft knock interrupts his thoughts. Tina from Benny's diner peers in nervous but determined. "Malik, I'm sorry to bother you, but there's a family at the diner. Their stranded car broke down and they can't pay for their meal. I remembered what you did that night and thought, maybe." Malik smiles, closing his laptop without hesitation. "I'll be right there." Benny's diner looks exactly the same. Fluorescent lights, worn booths, the smell of coffee, and possibility. But the corner booth where Arthur and Elaine once sat now holds a young Hispanic couple with 2 small children, huddled together and speaking in worried whispers. The woman apologizes in broken English while her husband counts pocket change with shaking hands. Their clothes are travel-worn. Their eyes hold the familiar mixture of pride and desperation that Malik remembers too well. "Folks," Malik says, approaching their table with 2 meals from the counter. "This one's on me tonight." As they eat, he learns their story. Miguel and Rosa Santos migrating north for construction work promised by Rosa's cousin. Their car broke down on the interstate, their savings barely enough for the towing fee. They have skills, Miguel in construction, Rosa in childcare, but no connections, no references, no way to prove their worth to potential employers. "You know," Malik says thoughtfully, "we're always looking for good people at the community center. Can't promise anything permanent, but maybe we can help you get started." He pulls out his business card, simple, professional, with the Sense gold logo. On the back, he writes their names carefully, just as Arthur once wrote his. "Miguel and Rosa Santos," he says aloud, the same way Arthur once repeated his name. "And your phone number." 2 hours later, Miguel is reviewing job opportunities in the Sense construction training program. Rosa is discussing childcare positions with the Sense Family Services coordinator. Their children are already making friends in the youth program. That evening, Arthur calls to check on the Sense quarterly progress. "How are things going, Director Carter?" "Good," Malik replies, watching Miguel help other job training students with electrical wiring while Rosa organizes the children's play area. "Really good. I think I'm starting to understand something you told me once." "What's that?" "Kindness is the only investment that always pays dividends." Arthur chuckles. "And what's your return rate so far?" Malik looks out at the thriving center, thinks about Grandma Lila's renewed health, Jamal's college acceptance letter, the 43 jobs created, the 12 businesses launched, the thousands of lives touched. "Immeasurable," he says. That night, as Malik walks home past the bustling community center that bears his name, he realizes the most important lesson of all. Transformation isn't a destination. It's a choice you make every day, one act of kindness at a time. The Malik Carter Community Development Center now serves over 4,000 people annually, proving that when kindness meets opportunity, entire communities can transform. But this story isn't unique. It's happening in neighborhoods across America, led by ordinary people who choose extraordinary compassion. Right now in your own community, someone like Malik is washing dishes after school, helping elderly neighbors, believing in possibilities others can't see. They're not waiting for permission to make a difference. They're already doing it, one small act at a time. What if your kindness could unlock someone's potential? What if a stranger's generosity could change your trajectory? Here's what I want you to do. Think about one person in your life who showed you unexpected kindness. Share their story in the comments below. Let's remind each other that transformation starts with seeing the person, not their circumstances. Like this video if you believe kindness still matters. Subscribe for more real-life stories that prove ordinary people create extraordinary change. Because somewhere tonight, someone is choosing kindness over indifference and changing the world one heart at a time.